Well, it's New Year's Eve, and while my friends are out partying and doing all kinds of fun stuff, I'm stuck at home. Mostly because I've got this little beast here who thinks that when a firework goes off, she's got to tell me that the frickin' world's coming to an end. And I thought, what better way to use my night than to create one of the kinds of videos that I love watching. I have this saying to my students, I say, create what you consume. And this is the kind of thing I love watching. People's like end of the year video on like their top movies or top albums. So these are going to be my top 5 albums from 2025. So first off, just let me say that I'm going to focus primarily on kind of underground, lesser-known artists, right? You're not going to see Taylor Swift's Showgirls on this list. Showgirls? I don't know. I primarily use Bandcamp as my form of consuming media. And there's a number of reasons for that. First of all, I think it's a really well-run and well-curated website. You can tell there's some people there that love music that will recommend things. I think you get to listen to every album usually 3 times for free. When it's time to actually purchase an album, you can be fairly certain that money, most of it at least, goes to the artists themselves. I got my chi. I got my cocktail. Let's check out some good music. Maybe you'll discover something that you might want to check out yourself. So first up, and number 5 on my top albums of 2025 is going to be The Spiritual Sound by Agriculture. So this was actually the first Agriculture album that I listened to, but since discovering this one, I have gone back and listened to their discography, and while I do like their older stuff, I really feel like they tapped into something truly raw with this album. So this band is from Los Angeles, and they call themselves an ecstatic black metal band. So a lot of times black metal, which I love, obviously I'm wearing a Migla shirt right now, black metal is oftentimes very dark and sometimes cliche, Hail Satan, all this shit. And while I love that stuff, I really do, Agriculture has found something kind of different about this genre, and they really do dip their toes into things like post-punk and shoegaze, and even just straight up punk rock. For example, Micah 5:15 a.m., which is at the start of the album, is a pretty driving punk rock anthem. But then as the album goes on, you're taken on this journey. It really forces you to like listen to every moment of every song when the genres are changing and you're taken on this sort of emotional ride. I think the standout for me absolutely is towards the end of the album, and that's why this is only number 5 on my list and not higher, is I do feel like half of these songs are absolutely incredible, and then half, while they are good, they do feel like filler, and I find myself wanting to just skip ahead to my favorite tracks. First of which is absolutely Bodhidharma. There are a lot of guitar solos in metal music and heavy music in general, and this is by far my favorite guitar solo of the entire year. And then right after that, after you've just released all this energy with this epic metal track, there's a really subdued acoustic ballad. And that's what I'm saying about Agriculture, is they're not just pigeonholed into one genre, and they bring in elements of heavy music as well as folk and all these other genres that I just love. That brings us to number 4, which is going to be the new release Never Exhale by Ditz.
The night air hangs closer to the ground. Each step brings me shame. Shame eats my fears. Shame eats my pace.
So this UK artist, I think, really embodies punk more than any of the other bands on this list. If you're a fan of bands like Idols, where the vocals are just so emotion-driven, not necessarily melody-driven, the lyricism and the poetry is just top-notch. It's a very like nihilistic album. There's a lot of angst you can feel in the lyrics, but I think it perfectly captures the kind of feeling in the world today. And I gotta say, as a bass guitar player myself, this is a very bass-centric album. Almost every track is built around some very simple but very driving and raw, catchy bass riff. But yeah, if you really feel like you want to wallow in the existential crisis of 2025, I think Never Exhale by Ditz is perfect album for that. Number 3 on my list is going to be the latest release from Canadian band Homefront. Homefront has absolutely been one of my top artists to keep an eye on for the last couple of years. It is crazy. This band doesn't fucking miss. So their newest release, Watch It Die, is a really interesting combination of post-punk, new wave, but then they also have like this chanty oi punk song that's like in the middle of it. The shouty vocals have a very 80s feel to them. The synthesizers on this album and the overall 80s aesthetic of it really hits. That's one of the things I really love about this album and this band in particular is they really understand the importance of melody. The reason it's not higher on this list is because they definitely do have a sound, and I'm not going to say all their songs sound the same. I wouldn't say there's like a single that really stands out to me on this, but as a whole, it's super cohesive, and you can just tell the people in this band have such a clear vision about what kind of music they want to make. All right, that brings us to number 2, and I'll be honest, I was kind of struggling about which of these 2 albums I wanted to put in first place. My number 2 album of 2025 is going to be Alexandra's Band by Animal Ghosts. So this is a Pacific Northwest band. They're from Portland. One of the reasons why I had to include them on this list is it has been so long since I heard an album that got me interested in an entire genre. This, to me, was the first shoegaze album that really piqued my interest in that genre and kind of sent me down this rabbit hole. Where this album really excels, I feel like, is in its production. You have to have an ear for shoegaze, which is generally kind of a droney, dreamy genre. Like, I'll be honest, I can hardly understand any of the lyrics on this album. But at the same time, you do feel like you're sort of floating through this, like, sunny cloudscape that you're just experiencing this fucking album. Let me just say, the reverb and the harmonist pedals are cranked up to 11 on this album. Their guitarist is like bending notes along with their bassist and synthesizer. As a musician myself, it just sounds like a pain in the ass to try to do that, to try to match going out of tune together in a melodic way. They really have mastered that sound. I'm just excited to have these guys on the list as a Pacific Northwest band. I hope I get to see them live someday. I'm going to keep an eye on Animal Ghosts. Without further ado, that brings us to my pick for number 1, and my personal album of the year is going to be The Loss by the band Mares of Thrace. This album is fucking relentless. So this is a concept album from this Canadian band, and it is a concept album based around the stages of grief. I've had to go through my own sort of grief this year quite a bit with some own personal loss, and this album just captures it perfectly. I'm not sure what the band members were going through, but they really, really nailed it. Track 1, Anticipatory Grief, comes out strong, it's frenetic, and it just captures that feeling of everything's gonna go wrong, that anxious feeling about how everything's just gonna go to shit. And as a melodramatic person myself, maybe that spoke to me. As you go through denial, anger, each one of them just captures this journey that we all go through when we're faced with loss. It's freaking heavy. Oh, and let me just say, this is a 2-piece band. I am always so impressed with a 2-piece band that can just make this much noise and fill an album with such a raucous experience. The woman who plays guitar and does vocals is really on another level. Her gutturals are amazing for a female vocalist, but she's also got these like kind of black metal-esque sort of shrieks. Sometimes there's like this pleading, poetic spoken word parts. But the reason why I had to put this number 1 is out of all these albums, I'm going to come back to this album over and over throughout the years. Check out Mares of Thrace. Those are my top 5 albums from 2025. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I love watching this kind of content, and I just decided, let's make some of my own. I really hope at least one of these bands comes out with another album next year. That's it for me. Peace.